Okay, so this video has been interrupted like 10 times, so I know I got some heat for you. So basically, the other day, I had an argument with my atheist friend. He is very science-oriented. He's a physics major, does not believe in creation. I believe in creation. So we kind of went down the rabbit hole of how the universe was made. I said I believe it's God. He said he believes everything always has been. And he thinks the universe popped from a singularity, like the Big Bang Theory. I said, well, what if God made the Big Bang? Just endless argument. I even brought up life cells and how like scientists can't make a life cell from scratch, and how did that come by accident? He said, you just say that to make yourself feel better. I don't know. Endless argument. He wasn't going to change what he believes. I was going to change what I believe. But it had me thinking though. I was kind of curious. I'm like, well, does the Bible say how the universe was created? Like, I don't know how it was created. Like, what if they try to say that the Big Bang Theory disproves Christianity, and then the Bible doesn't say anything about how it's created? I just whole messes with my brain. I can't even it's such an endless cycle of questions. And I've been praying for some knowledge on that, and something in my brain just said Ecclesiastes today, and I was reading through and I came to this one chapter 3, and I got to verse 11, and it says, he has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. And I was like, whoa, what does that mean? So I looked deeper into it. Ecclesiastes is like King Solomon, guy known for his wisdom. And he's saying here that he's put eternity into man's heart. And so even if you're not a believer, you know that you're going to die someday and everything you have is temporary. So we think of eternally then, because we think, well, what's after death? If it's just pitch black before you were born, we don't know. So that question, that intuition of well, what's after death, that comes from God, is what this verse is saying. But the most interesting part to me was after that it says, so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. We cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. And what that gave me was a sense of peace, humility, and closure with not knowing. And I was like, whoa, that just hit me. It's kind of it comes from a place of humility, I think, where it's just God is so great, so massive, we can't even imagine him. To say that he can only be real if I know how he created him, or he's limited to my understanding of reality, is so prideful. Because at the end of the day, if he created us, which I believe he did, I'm saying for atheists, it's just think if he created us, then who are we to say he can only be real if we understand him? Because we are just human beings. We have a 3-pound brain, and if you're lucky, you're 6 foot. You know what I'm saying? You don't know everything, and you have to be okay with not knowing. And I don't mean that as a sense of it's not you shouldn't ask questions. You should ask questions. I just came to that conclusion of it's okay to not know how he created the universe. Just trust in him. You know what I'm saying? We know that he created the universe in Genesis. We know he created everything, but we don't need to prove how he did it to say that he's real. And I think it ties back to the little section before where it says that he has put eternity into man's heart. That whole thing, that intuition comes from him. You cannot disprove that most people have an intuition of what's after death. Everybody has that question at some point. And I think even arguing emotions were you didn't have to be told that driving a school bus into an orphanage was bad. You just knew when you were born not to, that's a bad thing. Intuition, stuff like that comes from him. And that's what this verse is saying too. And it's just kind of it gave me a sense of peace, just being content with not knowing every little thing, just having faith in him. And I think the biggest part of that conversation I had with my atheist friend was that I wanted to change his mind. I wanted him to believe what I believe because I know it's true and I'm so passionate about it. But me proving him wrong in an argument is not going to turn him to God. The only thing that's going to turn him to God is me being, humble, being like Jesus, and seeing that Jesus worked through my life. God worked through my life. Me pulling the trace of Jesus through him. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to come from me just beating him in an argument. That's not how he's going to come to Christ. So it just gave me a sense of closure with everything, a sense of peace of not knowing, and just trusting God, trusting that God's going to reach into the heart of my atheist friend, and trusting that I don't need to know everything because God is so great. I just need to trust in him. And like I said, you just don't need to know everything, man. This verse is literally just saying, just trust in him, trust in not knowing, because that's where faith comes in. So thank you guys. Appreciate it.